live coverage and analysis. And we're in Michigan, where the Oxford High School shooter Ethan Crumbley is due to be sentenced today. And as you know, that means victim impact statements. Crumbley was 15 years old when he shot and killed 4 students. He injured several others in a shooting that he later admitted was planned to cause school panic. Back in September, the judge determined that Crumbley was eligible for a life sentence without the possibility of parole, and that's on the table today. This sentencing hearing comes as his parents, James and Jennifer Crumbley, continue to maintain their innocence. Remember, it was kind of a shocker when, for the first time, the parents of a shooter were charged. They've been charged with involuntary manslaughter. They're going to look at separate trials in January on those charges. So another survivor of the shooting spoke out today, gave a victim impact statement. Let's listen.
I have faith that the justice system will do its job and you will never see me in person. So today, I want you to look at me because it'll be the only chance you'll ever get to. As I stand here today, I'm 16 years old and I'm a junior at Oxford High School. I was 14 when you shot people right outside my classroom. As I think about it now, I can feel the adrenaline running through my veins. I was a freshman in room 256, my world history class. I sat on the floor of room 256, and there was no doubt in my mind. I was certain I was about to be murdered. More than thinking about myself, I thought about my sister, who I shared a room with. That night, she would come home to our shared room, and she would be alone. Would she get any sleep? Could she ever again? And at my funeral, what would they even talk about? I haven't accomplished anything. I was 14. I'm not done living. I wouldn't be able to hug my parents goodbye as I left for college. I thought I was never going to be able to get married because it was all about to end here in my history class. I hoped and prayed, please, when I get shot, don't let it be my face. My family wouldn't be able to handle it if I lost my face. Could my friends say goodbye if I didn't look like myself? November the 30th, 2021, I was given my very own life sentence. I was only 14. I am now sentenced to a lifetime of PTSD. I've spent hundreds of hours in therapy offices, and I've spent all my tears on this for so long. Whatever punishment the shooter gets, it will not be enough. Nothing could ever be enough. You took Hannah St. Juliana. She was so strong. She could have lived, but you stopped in your tracks and you shot her again. She didn't deserve it. My teachers in the beginning of November had made arrangements so I would sit with Hannah in my classes because I was new to Oxford that year. My teachers looked through my schedule and they looked for kids that I had a lot of classes with. And Hannah was on that list, and they knew her and they knew that she was kind. So they told my teachers to send me with her. She was so talkative and friendly. Tate, Justin, and Madison didn't deserve it either. The only person who does is you, but much worse.
What you think in those moments, don't shoot me in the face. My parents wouldn't, know what to do. I mean, this Avery Blumenstein. She was looking at death and somehow survived. Calls what happened that day in November of 2021 her own life sentence, and that is what's on the table today. Michigan got rid of the death sentence back in 1963. Might want to rethink it in the light of cases like this. Welcome, Katherine Lizardo is here. She's a trial attorney from Dallas, from the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Bob Motta, the host of Defense Diaries. He's in the Chicago area. Bob, always good to have you along. Welcome to the show. Let me start with you. These are always tough. These victim impact statements are just brutal, and they are as close to giving us a look into what happened on the day of any given crime as anything could be. But how does a judge not take into account these stories and weigh it heavily on his ultimate decision?
It has to, but any practicing attorney knows that a majority of the time that the judge comes into these sentencing hearings having thought about it for a long, long time, having probably talked to every other judge in that circuit, especially in a case where there's a lot of media attention, so they come in with a pretty good idea of what they're going to sentence the defendants to. I've always looked at victim impact panels as giving the victims and their families the opportunity to address the defendant, so that hopefully that his actions or her actions will resonate with them as they sit in that cell, typically for, if it's murder, for the rest of their life. I don't know how much of an impact it has on the actual sentencing itself, because I just think that the judge typically comes in with a number, but I think that these are incredibly important. I hope that it's somewhat cathartic to the victims and their families in terms of being able to just speak about it and to address the perpetrator. So, I mean, that's, as a defense attorney, that's always what I took from them. And I think they're incredibly powerful.
Yeah, and these people are so brave. And maybe it just reinforces what the judge has already decided, the Judge Kwame Rowe in this case. A couple of big issues, Katherine, for the defense and for, any sort of, I think, effort by the defense to give this kid less than life without parole, and that is the age, and that is the mental issues, if any. What are your thoughts?
The age definitely is a big factor for Ethan Crumbley in support of parole for him, because he was 15 at that time, and this witness was 14 at that time, and most of the other victims are young like him. And at 15, your brain biologically has not fully developed to process exactly what you're doing. And I'm sure the defense will bring that up and also as a mitigating factor, and bring some experts likely to talk about that, and also his mental health issue, particularly since here his parents were charged as well for contributing to this crime. Just imagine trying to grow up in that kind of environment. That's what the defense will try to argue on his behalf.
Yeah, and that is... That's interesting, Katherine. That's a good point, because you normally don't have that. Now we have effectively, co-conspirators, co-defendants that the defense can say, hey, don't blame my guy. Look how he was raised. I think that's an interesting wrinkle that we really don't see quite often. Let's go back into court now. This victim, Avery, she asked the defendant to look at her, look at me. He hasn't moved. He looks almost catatonic. And maybe we'll find out he's on meds for mental issues. I don't know. But let's go back into court for more of her victim impact statement.
In room 256, a boy announced while we were still in the class hiding, after looking at his phone, that Hannah had been shot. She was supposed to be there with me. The only thing I could think of was to text her. I, of course, didn't get a reply. She was supposed to be in my 5th hour class with me. As I was waiting for her reply, I thought, this can't be real. Come December, we'd be back sitting in history class. That night, I saw Hannah's face on the news. She was confirmed dead. Hannah had so much potential. She was set to do great things in this world. All that's left is her legacy. I used to have Hannah on the app Snapchat, and there's a feature on there where you can see where your friends are. It's called Snap Maps, and when you open up the program, it shows where your friends are. And I remember after I'd come home that day, I could still see her icon on the map, so I kept that hope that maybe she was fine. And even after, I would still see that whenever someone opened up her phone. I will never have an ounce of forgiveness for you. I will only learn to forgive myself, because I didn't deserve this. My community didn't deserve this. I still have faith in people. I still believe that most people are good. You didn't rob me of my kind heart, even though I'm sure you wanted to. I am 10 times stronger than you will ever be. You do not have any power over me. After today, I live my life. You will go behind bars, and I'll never have to see your face again. You are a waste of space. I'm not sorry to say that. You're not special. You don't have a divine right. You're just an insecure, weak, fragile, insecure boy who could not deal with his own problems. Your name will never be said. Now, the rest of us are left with the pieces, and I'm going to ask you one more time to please look at me. Thank you.
Wow, such a powerful statement and confrontation, really, to help this young woman, if she can, get through what she suffered that day. Katherine Lizardo, Bob Motta here. So, Katherine, we talk about the impact these statements might or might not have on the actual sentencing. Sometimes we deal with mandatory sentencing where we know there ain't any impact. There's just nothing. But in this case, we don't know. I mean, this judge, after, as Bob suggested, roundtabling it with some of his colleagues, and may have come up with maybe a max, but with the possibility of parole. How do you think that might sit with these victims and their families and the community, knowing that this guy could get out to hit the streets someday?
It will be difficult for them to understand that that is a possibility. It is part of our justice system to allow him to do that because this is not a mandatory sentencing for Crumbley. However, the judge is looking at Crumbley as well, like you mentioned. And I've noticed too that none of the victim statements, when they were being delivered, he was looking at them. He was always looking down, and the judge sees that as well. What does that mean? Which again, will the defense should use or could use to bolster the mitigating factors against life imprisonment without parole. What's interesting, though, is that he actually pled guilty less than a year after the incident. So that helps the victims not have to go through a trial and testify on that behalf. And this victim impact statement now is their chance to voice their experience and to help them heal. And I'm glad that victim Avery was brave enough to say, look at me, because you're not looking at me, but look at me. And that is empowering for herself and hopefully helps her heal.
Bob, that time frame is important here, in part for the reasons that Katherine mentions. The family hasn't dragged through this for years and years. But also, as a defense attorney, are you going to use that? Hey, my guy took responsibility.
100%.
And he knows what he did was wrong, and now he's healing as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's frankly, when you have a situation like this where there's not really a question of guilt, that's the first thing I'm telling my client when I go in terms of trying to mitigate the damage as much as possible in terms of sentencing. I'm saying, look, you gotta own this. You realize you've done something horrific here, and to do anything like forcing it to go to trial, putting the victims' families through that nightmare of having to relive it with video and audio. So I think that the judge definitely will take that into account. But like you were talking about earlier, Michael, really the thing that you have to try to wonder about is the age thing, because no matter how adult and horrific this crime was in nature, the fact of the matter is that kids this age just don't have fully developed minds. It's children doing very adult things, and it's hard for people to kind of grapple with that concept where you're talking about a kid, not even taking into account kind of what the nightmare situation of his parental or lack of parental guidance was growing up, or abandonment, or whatever had gone on with his family, to just the biological fact that we have an undeveloped mind or a continuing developed mind is always so hard for me to try to figure out, what do you do in these cases? I mean, the kid clearly has to be punished to just an extreme extent, but do you just, I don't know, do you take into account the fact that he was still a kid?
Yeah. It strains any sympathy you might have, though, for a youngster. It is so difficult to feel sorry for this kid who was just, unformed, ill-formed, because of what he did. I mean, that's the weighing. And it is tough to just say, he was a kid. Very tough. So tough. Again, we'll continue to follow this. This is the Ethan Crumbley sentencing. It's Prosecution says life without parole. Defense says 25 to 40. Give him a chance to be paroled at some point.